Charles Dickens could never have imagined the turn of events in the life of this 28-year Major League veteran umpire.
Was getting close to the umpire's locker room. He knows CPR. He was able to attend to her right away.
It was the best of times
That man is without a doubt a hero.
and the worst of times for umpire Jimmy Joyce.
Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe. He is safe.
He made OFC Network's worst call of all time list with this call, the one that nullified a perfect game for Armando Galarraga in 2010.
Did not get the call correct. I kicked the of it. I had a great angle on it. I had great positioning on it. I just missed the damn call. At that particular time, I thought he beat the play, and now that I'm standing here and I've seen it on the replay, and naturally every Tiger out there was telling me that I had kicked the call because they'd seen the replay, so...
Obviously, you're never happy when you miss a call.
This isn't a call. This is a history call. And I kicked the shit out of it.
We'll give him a hand. You can see the emotion on the face of Jim Joyce.
Oh, this is so amazing. Amazing.
The next night, Jimmy was emotional as he came onto the field and stood face to face with Galarraga. Jimmy's heartfelt apology was accepted as the two men shook hands.
Today, and he is calling balls and strikes, and he has just taken the lineup card.
Not only is he standing up like a man today, but he stood up like a man last night after he made the call.
OFC Network was lucky enough and honored to have Jimmy guesting with some of his umpiring buddies not long ago on our new series, War Stories. Jimmy recounted a war story that sounds unusual.
We're in Baltimore. Baltimore came back to tie the game, or was down by 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning, and Mike Devereaux comes up with bases loaded and hits that proverbial pole bender down the left field line. And I'm at third base. I think McKean's got the plate. I thought the ball went through the mesh of the foul pole. I'm thinking in my head, mesh. It went right through it, and so I kind of limped the fair call, and I turned around, I look at McKean, and McKean's not doing anything. And I went, maybe I fucked this up. And I mean, I had every California Angel that I can think of on top of me immediately. I'm throwing people left and right, and Doug Rader comes out, and he's just, he wants to fight. And all of a sudden, he's on the outfield side. I'm looking out towards left field, and I feel somebody grab me, and I spin around, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to drop somebody right here, and it's Larry Young. Larry Young grabs me, and he says, "Come on, we're getting the fuck off this field." And Larry Young literally dragged me from probably 20 feet behind third base all the way to the locker room. And I told Larry Young when I got in the locker room, I said, "I'm going to get fired tomorrow." I said, that's how afraid I am of this situation. The guy that caught that ball took it to the front office to give to Mike Devereaux, and it had yellow paint on it that it had hit the foul pole.
Of course, Jimmy Joyce's career has involved the necessity of quick decisions and actions on the field. Off the field, he's been recognized as a hero by just about everyone for his quick action that saved a lady's life.
That man is without a doubt a hero. Last night at 5:15, a longtime employee of the Arizona Diamondbacks, Jane Powers, in fact, she's been with this club since day one, started feeling a little faint. She actually passed out, and luckily, miraculously for her, Jim Joyce was getting close to the umpire's locker room. He knows CPR. He was able to attend to her right away. Also, Jeff Urgelis, the bullpen catcher for the Marlins, who was a paramedic by chance, was right there. They immediately started doing CPR, and once they had everything under control, there's Jim Joyce as he came in today. Just a fantastic story. And as you guys know, in a situation of cardiac arrest, those first 5 or 10 minutes really determine if someone lives or dies. And the fact that Jim Joyce had the presence of mind and the training to administer CPR right away before officials and paramedics could get to her saved her life. She is in good stand. They installed a pacemaker into her earlier this morning. All reports are that she is doing well, but without a doubt, that man right there saved a life here at the ballpark last evening.
And to put an exclamation point on the story of Jimmy Joyce's umpiring career, Joyce and umpire Dana DeMuth were involved in one of the best rules calls of all time. It was a walk-off obstruction call in the 2013 World Series.
The umpire making the call. And you can see Jim Joyce saying obstruction.
Well, Jim Joyce, did he make the play? Did he make the call right away? It appears that he did, signaling the home plate umpire, Dana DeMuth. Salto Lamacchia making a great play. There's one out. That's the second out. Wide throw at third. There's the obstruction. Middlebrooks. Unbelievable.
This game ends with an obstruction call.
We love this house. It really
But that's not a total walk-off for Jimmy. He recently landed a starring walk-on role in a television commercial that had him reunited with the first player he ever ejected.
That's a cute
Darned
shirt.
if it
You
wasn't
need
the
glasses,
kid
pal.
himself,
That's it. Get
Ken
outta here.
Griffey Jr.
He's done this to me before.
My very first one is a very reputable name. And after I ejected him, he didn't get ejected for another 12 years later.
Let me guess.
Oh, I can guess. I think I can guess that one too.
I'm working the plate, and Mr. Ken Griffey Jr. comes to the plate, and he takes strike one right down the middle. And he takes strike two right down the middle. And then he proceeds to take strike three right down the middle. And he turned to me and he looked me dead in the eye and he said, "Fuck you." He said, "That's good enough." I said, "See you later." He didn't say another word. He turned around and walked back to the dugout. And the manager was Jim Lefevre. And Jim Lefevre, he couldn't get to Griffey fast enough before my right arm was in the air. And he got to me and he says, "Oh, you can't run the kid. You can't run the kid." And I said, "Well, let me ask you a question, Jimmy." I said, "Can I say fuck you to you?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "Well, go tell him that because he can't say that to me either." And Lefevre looked at me and goes, "That's what he said?" And I said, "That's exactly what he said." And that was, back in those days, you weren't supposed to tell the manager, why you ejected somebody. You could, the standard pat answer was, "Read it in my report." But I needed to tell him that because there was no exchange really. You know what I mean? It wasn't hands up in the air and screaming and yelling at each other. It was literally 2 words and you're gone. And that was my first ejection. But the funny thing about the ejection was the next day we're sitting in the locker room in Seattle. And I can't remember the kid's name. I want to say it was Bobo for some reason. Knocks on our door in the Seattle locker room, comes in and says, "I'd like to see Mr. Joyce." And I raised my hand. I said, "Here I am right here." He comes over to me and he says, "Ken Griffey Jr. would like to apologize to you." I said, "Okay, bring him on in." He goes, "No, I'm here to apologize to Griffey Jr." I said, "If Ken Griffey Jr. was," and these guys are laughing. Youngie's laughing. Kaiser's barking in the back in the background. And I said, "If Mr. Griffey wants to apologize to me, you can tell him, here's my locker room, and I'll be sitting right here and I'll accept his apology if he comes and sees me." And it was about 5 or 10 minutes later, and Ken Griffey Jr. actually came in. Now, visualize in your head, hats on backward, the big old smile. And he just looked at me and goes, "Jimmy, I was just having a bad day. I hope you don't take offense." And I said, "Ken, I accept your apology."
So our call on Jimmy Joyce, who survived 28 years as a major league umpire, certainly deserves to be known as one of the best ever.